Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, I'll tell you, we jumped over here to West Annapolis, which is fast becoming one of my favorite spots in town. But we are here at 26 Annapolis Street with Brandon Stalker, who is the owner of Evelyn's Restaurant.
How are you doing today, John?
I'm good, man. Did I get the name right? Is it Evelyn's Restaurant? Is there like no cafe or grill or anything?
Just Evelyn's, and evelynsannapolis.com is the website. It's named after my daughter.
That was what I wanted to know.
Yeah, and she always says that I'm just the manager and she's the owner. She's 10 years old, and so one day that might be the case. But
I've heard that. My name's on the sign.
That's right.
How do you argue with that?
Yeah, but my favorite thing was when we before we opened up, it was a long construction process. As you know, permits always take forever and that stuff. And
no, not here.
No, not at all. And, so my two kids came in, and that's when she was 6 and Michael was 4, and there was a little bit of dust on the floor. They walked right in and they grabbed a dustpan and a broom unsolicited and started sweeping the place up. And that's right. I thought to myself, we're going to be just fine.
We're going to be okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This somehow like in the deed or the whatever of the property, going back in the property records, that any restaurant here needs to be named after a woman?
No, that is a good point. And it's actually funny you say that because, it was, Regina's beforehand with Wally and Stephanie, and they were definitely a staple here. But the people who had a property here before this building was actually built, her name was Evelyn. And the family found me about 4 years ago, and they're the people who planted the bamboo in the backyard, which I wish they hadn't done that. It's such a nightmare, but it's beautiful, but it's such a nightmare to deal with. But their grandmother was Evelyn. So really it went from Evelyn to Regina's and now back to Evelyn.
Back to Evelyn.
Which I thought that was definitely the universe telling me something right there.
It must be either whether you were naming your kid or whether you're naming your restaurant. One of the two.
Yeah.
Well, I know that when you first opened up, I know that Regina's was a well-loved establishment here, and I know that they were struggling the last couple of years.
Yes.
And I know that when you first moved in, because Annapolis doesn't like change.
Yes.
There was probably some people digging their heels in, going, "What the hell is this?" And we want our Reginas and everything else. And you have really, blown that out of the water here. This, I almost say I hate to come here because I have to sit here and wait for a table for so darn long. But it's wonderful. You have been so embraced by the community, and similarly, you really embrace the community as well. And it's a really a bidirectional type of a relationship there. Well, so that's.
I couldn't agree more. Honestly, I tell people all the time, my favorite thing about Evelyn's is being a part of the community and getting to be involved in it. Honestly, the favorite thing out of being in the community is getting to see all the kids grow up. There are so many who come here, and I've gotten to watch them from being in a car seat to now they're up and doing swim lessons, and this is where they come on the weekends. And
stick with it for some while, because I know. Have you ever been sort of back in the back hall of Buddy's upstairs?
Oh, yeah.
With all the pictures on the wall?
Yes.
Buddy's is like the. At one point, I heard a statistic that said that 40% of the workforce, and I don't remember what time this was, had worked at McDonald's or something tightly associated with McDonald's at some point in their life.
I can believe that.
And I'm like, Buddy's was like that all the time, because you'd go back and you'd look and you'd see these giant staff pictures from 1982, and you go, oh yeah, his grandkids in here.
That's right.
And so pretty soon you're going to be seeing, second generations. How long did you guys open? You guys opened up about...
God, now it's 5.5 years ago. It's hard to believe. Philip, who's here, he actually is telling me it's his 5-year anniversary today. And when he told me that, I was like, wow, it's already been 5 years.
Did you get him a watch?
No, not yet. I should. Because he's actually about to move on to bigger and better things. So I do need to get him some sort of a gift. He's been a fabulous employee.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, what is your background? How did you come to open up Evelyn's?
Sure. Well, my family's been in commercial real estate my entire life. And, my father moved from Michigan to Maryland before I was born. And he wanted to basically invest in real estate. And so I was brought up in that. And I first was a janitor, then an electrician, then a carpenter, working my way up. And back then, everything in Annapolis was mom and pop owned. There was absolutely nothing that was, outside money, this, that, or the other.
Right.
Well, now that I'm 40 years old, and it would have been 35 when I started it, really, I saw that the Annapolis had changed and it had become really an outside money town. And everybody was, now it's, I don't want to say that it's the franchises per se, but it's more
I
just,
get you.
It had changed. And so I wanted to build something that was for the locals and that was still, made in-house, scratch made, locally sourced, but at a fair price. When you go downtown, I like certain restaurants downtown, but for me, my opinion, the majority of them, it's the same menu. There's outside of, Joss's, Fox's Den, Bogart, those sort of places. But for a lot of them, it's very, exactly, And so I just wanted to make something that I'm going to call is a little bit different. And I call it kind of like a cross between a double T and a Ruth's Chris.
Okay, I'm not seeing that, but I'm saying, Ruth's Chris, I think steaks, and I know that you're only open for breakfast and lunch. So that's,
it is kind of an odd comparison.
Your hours are, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
Monday through Thursday, 7 to 2, and then Friday through Sunday, we're 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Well, so you don't personally have any, flipping burger background?
No. The way it happened is very odd. One of my best friends, his name's Richard Reuter, and his mother started Caroline's Cakes, which was out by the Bay Bridge a long time ago. And he needed some help in the kitchen, and I had a very flexible schedule, and he said, I need help right now. Can you come give me a hand? I said, sure. Well, I'm not doing real estate. I'll come do this. And so I found out there how much I loved making food and having people, they would eat your stuff, and they would say, God, I really enjoyed eating this. This is fabulous. With real estate, everything is my elevator's broken, the roof is leaking, I don't like my lease, whatever. There's no positive reinforcement. And so I said, this is really awesome, and I want to build something like this.
That's kind of neat. It's funny, when I was looking to buy a couple of businesses a long time ago, and I ended up almost buying Reynolds Tavern way back when.
Oh, wow.
Back when the National Historic Trust still owned it. And I mean, it was, and I got into a conversation with Harvey Blonder.
Okay, yep.
And he said, look, dude, unless you're born in the restaurant business, you don't want to be in it. Trust me.
Yep.
And in hindsight, that was probably some of the best advice I ever got. I mean, have you found it difficult to acclimate yourself in the restaurant business yourself?
It was a steep learning curve for sure. And not having that background in what I'll call the restaurant business, I've always been involved in business my whole life, but it's not the same, being in deals. Now, I think I have it a little bit easier being breakfast and lunch because I still have time in the day to have a life. And, I have kids. People ask me to...
There you go. So now you have no life.
Exactly. And, everybody has really told me if you get into the breakfast through dinner game, they said you're going to be divorced. You'll never have somebody who stays with you. You won't see your kids. It just, is a bad idea. And so I think that for me, it was much better just doing the breakfast and lunch angle where I can still pay the bills, pay my employees, and have a life. And,
it's funny that you say that because it was the gist of Harvey's conversation with me was basically picture you finally get a night off and you go into DC for a play in a hotel and you've got the whole 9 yards with your wife. And I was married at the time and the whole thing. And it's just the most romantic, incredible night you've had since your honeymoon. And your phone rings at 6 o'clock because your 17-year-old opener can't possibly come in because she has a zit on her nose.
That's right.
So you get out of the hotel at 6 o'clock in the morning and you get your ass back to Annapolis and you open up the darn restaurant.
That's right. I tell everybody here all the time because most people think that, owners just sit back and, collect checks or whatever. And I go, we're the ones who are on call 24/7, 365. I've been to my daughter's her Irish dance competition. I've gotten the call in the middle of it. I said, sorry, honey, I've got to leave. Dad's got to go do this. And,
well, as a small business owner, and I mean, small locally, homegrown business owner, I mean, when the call comes in and says the hostess is out, you put on, I'll be sexist here, but you put on your skirt and you're now the hostess.
That's right.
When the janitor calls out, I don't know, they have a janitor and says, hey, that's right. Put on your boots and you go back in and you unclog the toilets or whatever.
That's right.
If somebody needs to be a fry cook.
Yes.
That's where you jump in. I mean, that's, I guess the benefit and the downside of a business ownership as well.
But it's also very rewarding, to be honest. Being able to know it's good to my employees when they see me hop in on certain places. They go, "Oh, he actually can do that. He can hop on the line. He does know how to do this."
Sure. Then they talk about you behind your back, saying, "Yeah, but he doesn't do it as good as I do."
That's right.
Well, breakfast and lunch is somewhat of a unique concept here in town, and actually, it's getting a little bit tighter of a market because you've got first.
Yes. There's Rise Up Coffee.
No. There's a new one over at the festival at Reba. That's it's a chain.
Okay, I'm not familiar with them. Is it First Watch?
Yes, First Watch.
Okay.
And Excellence are really the only two games in town.
Yep. And you have Expectations up at Booth, which they do a really good job.
Right. And I think this is it's a great niche because your lunch is here. I've only had, I think, 2 or 3 lunches. I primarily come here for breakfast.
Yep.
And I get into fights with my girlfriend all the time on that because you can order both off of the breakfast and the lunch menu. And I'm like, no, if we're going out like after church or something like that, this is, we need to have eggs involved in this thing. Right. That's my own little. Sure. Like, no, why can't we get it? And I'm like, no. We go back and forth. So it's a really great happy medium because you can do both there. But you guys are in the process of, your business has been so good.
Yep.
You are expanding over into what was a paper store, wasn't it?
Originally, yep. It was Priss's Paper.
Priss used to be across the street.
That's right. And then she came over here. Yep. And then, she moved out after I bought the building. She stuck around for about maybe 9 months or so, and then she didn't want to.
Didn't they change the name?
No, it was still
Priss's Paper Parlor?
And then it turned over to Jenny Melvin, turned into J. Melvin Real Estate, which then became Better Homes and Gardens, which then became Compass. And then when she went to Compass had another local office, so they were paying her rent, and when it expired, she moved out.
2 places. Okay.
Yeah, and she knew I was going to expand, so it all worked out very well. But yeah, we're going to be going from 30 seats originally to about 130 when we're all done. So it's been quite a big rise.
Well, I will say that you're doing it smartly and that you own the building and that you can expand right here in the same location. I know so many places that have, and I don't mean to pick on the Wild Orchid, but
sure.
They had a great location where Bin 909 is in Eastport, and it was sold out every single night. It was just, and they realized, I think they did it because they needed some catering space in the kitchen. But it said they moved into the huge sterile space in the middle of that circle in Westgate Circle, and it just didn't go.
That's right.
Here in the same place, people are used to coming here to 26 Annapolis Street. They know Evelyn's. They know it's breakfast and lunch.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden somebody like, oh, there's no wait?
That's right.
I can come sit down.
And it's funny you mention that because really where we're looking at here, where there's the wall, that's why I'm not going to knock down the whole wall, because I don't want it to be this wide open space where if on a Monday you'd come in and we'd be half full and it would look like a ghost town. I want it to still have that intimate feeling.
There's all perception too. I know that there's things at the fairgrounds when they have festivals and so on and so forth. I say, don't open up that lower field until people are really, really tight in and starting to be miserable.
Yes.
Because it's going to appear to be just this really lame festival if it's too spaced out. And there's a place in South County, I think it's called the South County Cafe, that is in an old sort of Victorian house, and they've got it set up similarly. It's you can eat in the main room, which might have 4 tables, and then you can go up the little 2 steps and into what was the dining room, and there may be 6 tables. You can go back into the den, which really makes it really nice because if you want to separate somebody, if you've got a larger group that can come in, you can put them back there and everything else.
Yes.
I do see that you've got craft paper on your windows. So what's the status of your expansion? And we're recording this right now at the beginning of August. So
So right now they're actually finishing up the drywall work today. All of the HVAC is in, about 90% of the electrical. HVAC. I'm sorry.
I'm like HVAC, man.
Yeah. No, but we're getting close. I'm hoping within 4 weeks. So that would put us at let's say first September, hopefully. Okay. Say first week of September, hopefully. Okay. That's what I'm shooting for.
You'll be able to handle the Navy crowd when they come in for football.
That's right. That's the whole impetus.
And of course, you do have dining out on your own patio.
That's right.
And during the pandemic, you did have your parklet.
Yes.
As well, which really helped out, I imagine, a lot as well.
Yes, that was gigantic to be able to get help from the city on that. Now, I don't know if you know, but they changed how they actually charged for the parklets now. And for me as a small business, that wasn't going to work out anymore this year. But
especially when you've got the expansion and then the full porch. I mean, even with the expansion underway. Even if you had no tenants in there without it being open, you've got the use of that for a porch for the whole building. So that's pretty cool.
And really having the porch is what's really made the biggest difference. Now it's a true, if it's raining, you don't get wet. Before you would get about half of the table.
Is the porch new? Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought that was always here.
Yeah.
It used to be just a flat.
So it was about 9 inches lower. We had to pour a new slab all the way across top to raise it up because when you go over 50 seats, your doors have to swing out, and it has to be a perfectly level transition for handicapped people.
Right.
And then the awning came out about 7 feet or so. Now it goes out to 15 feet.
Okay.
So I'd say we basically doubled the amount of everything. We doubled the deck height and width and everything, and then we also doubled the coverage.
Nice. And I think it's important to say that this is a super dog-friendly place.
Oh, yes. Yes. We are all lovers of dogs. If you ask for a piece of bacon, they'll give them to you for free.
Oh.
A lot of people don't know that. But yes, the doggos are always friendly here.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, I mean, your menu is great. And I mean, I'm partial to your omelets myself. Sure. Who does your menu? Is that you?
Yeah, so it's me and my chefs, actually. So we have things that come on special. I like them to play around with it. I'll find things that I like to cook at home, and we'll try it out as special. I would say me, it's probably about 30%, and the cooks are in the back are the other 70%. Now, when we originally opened up, it was about 50-50 between me and my other chef who helped me open up. And then we've kind of transitioned away from that. But, we like to try things out, see what people love, and then we put it on the menu.
Do you switch it like on seasons? I mean, you say like, okay, in every March and August we do it.
And we definitely switch it seasonally. So we get about 4 of them every year. And obviously the staple items are never going to leave. Those are always going to stay. And we only drop usually 2 to 3 items and add 2 to 3 items.
Okay.
So it's not a massive change by any means.
And that's pretty much based on what's available as far as, I mean, strawberries are in season or whatever it may be like that.
We have that. And then I look at the sales reports and I say, okay, this one only sold
this is a dog
4 per week. Why are we still even carrying that?
Well, what is your favorite item on the menu?
Oh, sweet potato biscuits and chorizo gravy by far. That's my number one. It's just
sounds absolutely disgusting to me.
Yep. Well, if you look at it, it doesn't look that enticing, to be honest. It kind of looks I won't say what it looks like, but it kind of is not the most enticing thing. But for me, it has that sweet and spicy sort of deal that I really love. Now, my fiance, she loves the huevos rancheros, and she never goes outside of that.
That's my girlfriend's go-to. It's
yep. Now, my other favorite, too, is the French toast. I always eat that all the time. It's getting it from Leon Bakery down in Hyattsville. It's a nice 3/4-inch cut, and it just, melts in your mouth.
Do you source locally pretty much as much?
As much as possible, yes. I would say 75 to 80% of our products come locally from Maryland. And then probably about 85 if we go to the next states over. Now, there are certain things, like our wild-caught Atlantic salmon. We can't get that in Maryland, and other certain items.
Sure.
But for the majority of it, yes, everything is here.
And do you design your menu based on what you're able to obtain locally? I mean, would that certainly keep it in mind?
You have to, because obviously there's seasons for certain things, and certain things are better at certain times of the year. And it makes a big difference to me for my customers to know that when you come here, you're not just supporting us, but you're supporting all the farmers and the people who are in Maryland that are putting this behind. My biggest thing is so we had salmon that we couldn't get in. Everybody's having trouble with it, and I got a replacement, and it had said product of China. And I called my rep and I said,
it's not going to work.
I said, this is not going to work for me. I said, it's nothing against China. I said, but I don't want anything.
They probably have lovely salmon, but
yes,
it's not going to be served here.
Yeah, I said, thank you, but no thank you.
That's great. Well, I'll tell you what, it's funny. I was on Facebook this morning and somebody was talking about just ranting and raving about creme brulee, and they say,
I saw that
creme brulee has to do this, and my comment was like, okay, look, if you're going to say you've got creme brulee, and if you F it up,
that's right.
I'm going to hold it totally against you for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And other things that fall in line for that with me are eggs Benedict, French onion soup, and Philadelphia cheesesteak. Okay, now I'll let you slide on a cheesesteak because Davis's has a cheesesteak. They don't call it a Philly cheesesteak.
There you go.
You throw Philly in there, and I'm going to judge you.
Yep.
Now, if you've got somebody that has got that kind of an attitude in here and is going to make or break Evelyn's, what do you tell them to order?
Cream of crab soup. No hesitation. I say I go with the cream of crab soup. I would go with our West Coast BLT. And say BLT is kind of a staple food, and
that's the BLT with olive or avocado.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. I say those be, and then the only other one I'd throw in there too is our Reuben. I say, which I'm very proud of. I think those are 3 Maryland items, that people like to have, and we all make everything here from scratch. And Miss Erica, her crab soup, I don't know if you've seen, but it blew up on Facebook last year, and it brought in hundreds of people here. It was quite a big explosion, and we were really happy for it. Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. See, now I live in the wrong state personally. I jokingly say that if it could live in, on, near, or under the water, I won't eat it. Mm-hmm. And so crab soup would never be on my menu, but it's people say, hey, do you love O'Leary's? I'm like, never been there. They're like, what? I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to go there and order chicken nuggets.
No.
Let's face it. But it's, O'Leary's is wonderful. Everyone tells me about it. So the crab soup is, so if I send people in here for crab soup, they're not going to leave disappointed.
No.
You guarantee that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I will promise that. I have not had any person come in here ever and not say they didn't love the crab soup. I think that's about as good of a guarantee as I can get.
Right. What surprised you the most out of opening a restaurant? I mean, you're new to the restaurant business. What?
I would say the amount of different agencies that are involved in opening a restaurant. When you have to go through the health department, the state, the city, everything else. And none of it was bad, but it was just compared to the real estate, it was completely different. Now, the other thing too that I would say was really surprising about was the amount of interest from the community. Just when we were opening up, I had probably 100 people a day knocking on the door. Hey, what's going on? What are you going to be opening here? What's the deal? And
should have told them Hooters.
Yeah, that's right. They say that would have definitely gotten a reaction. Well, one of my good friends from college, actually, he's down in it's really the Eastern Shore of Virginia, and he's a partner in a new bar. So originally I forget what the name it was going to be, but people raised hell about the original name. And the guy who owns his name is Glenn. So they now named it the G Spot. And now all of these people are up in arms again. And he's going, hey, you got one, you don't get two.
That's funny. That's funny.
So, community, they can be very involved. And I'm really lucky that, I know I'm doing things the right way and I'm helping the community here, but the community has embraced me. And that's something that, you can't buy that. It's something that really has to be given.
It really has. And I mean, you come here on typically I'm here on Sundays, but you see people strolling Saturdays or Sundays, they're strolling the streets, and there's not too many cars out front or in back. So these are folks that are living in West Annapolis that are walking here to sit there with the dogs are out.
That's right.
And it's amazing to see a truly local, small type of thing. I mean, you're here 80% of the time, I'm sure, 89% of the time.
Yep. So just about.
That's, and you talked about being part of the community, and West Annapolis is right now on the cusp of just this gigantic explosion.
Yes.
You've got the Mexican Cafe, which has gone, and that's RIR Brewing. Which is going to be coming in, I think, in the spring.
Yes.
Is when they're talking. And you had Agave, which was in, and they were out, and now they're in
back
again.
In. That's right.
I don't know what I have my thoughts about what happened there, but it was I think it was a little bit too expensive, and then it was a little bit too vacant, and then it became a little bit more affordable.
Yes, I would have to agree. And it really is nice because the 5.5 years I've been here, I've been telling people every time, I want more restaurants here. I want there to be 3 or 4 more places. I don't want a breakfast and lunch farm to table spot here, but I definitely want other restaurants here. And I think that West Annapolis has so much potential to be able to become a spot for that.
Well, I mean, right now, for those that aren't aware, West Annapolis is having that RIR Brewing, which is going to be a brew pub. So they're going to have food and your pub food.
That's right.
As well. You're going to have Agave, which is a wonderful Mexican place, which is big down in Lake Rehoboth.
Yep.
You've obviously got Evelyn's that we're speaking with here. You've got Bean Rush Cafe on the corner.
That's right.
You've got Always Ice Cream.
Yep.
On the same, Bean Rush isn't on the corner, but it's on that corner of Bean Rush.
Yep.
Across the street, you've got Flamant, which is a great sort of Belgian sort of upscale place.
Yes.
And what else do we need?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Hooters.
That's right. Well, how did I not think about that? I think I would like to see, since we already have the brew pub and we have the Mexican, I think that maybe something with like another European flair, potentially. So I could see that coming over here. I would also like to see maybe like a really good barbecue place. That I think that's always needed in town. But as long as they make good stuff, I'm going to welcome them with open arms.
What about non-food stuff? West Annapolis is and then West Annapolis is so cool. I mean, they got the locally family-owned pharmacy.
Yes, which I love them.
You know, you've got Stella down there at One Petticoat Lane, and she's got that wonderful consignment shop.
Yes.
There's a great shop just across the street here, and I don't remember the name of it.
Revival.
Yep, Revival. You've got down there's another R store that's next to Stella.
There is. There's also the art gallery. There's the Krabby Quilter. Gosh, I'm trying to remember who the really nice women's clothing line is. Raven.
WRAYBM.
Yep. They say, and they do a great job. Yeah, I mean, for over here, we've kind of always been like the artsy fartsy area of town, you know, going back in my deal. And I would like to see more, you know, it would be really great over here. It'd be one of those like paint and sip places, I think. You know, I think that would fit in really well. It would also be nice if we had some like nicer like liquor and wine store. That would be kind of, I'm not going to say it has to be all upscale, but things that would carry almost like a small scale Bay Ridge Wine and Spirits where they have a better selection of sort of things. I think there's a lot of people here who would like that. You know, they do a great job over here. Now CVS, it was originally Rite Aid and everything, then it got grandfathered in. But they're more of what I'm going to call
CVS.
Yeah. You know, so they carry all like the main brands, not any of the interesting stuff.
No, I mean, we were down in, where were we? We were, I guess, Sanibel. And there was just a little small, not nearly as big as Growl's, but a family-owned local grocer there. And they were able to sell, but they really had a great curated section of wines and beers and boozes.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't huge. I mean, you weren't going to be able to buy, you know, cases and cases of, you know, Johnny Walker Red or whatever it is. So,
but it was interesting stuff. You know, you walk in and you go, oh, I've never heard of that. And that looks interesting. I'll give it a try.
Very neat. Very neat. Well, you know, we're getting into the fall, and West Annapolis is sort of ground zero for a number of great fall events. You've got Oktoberfest, which will be coming up in September, which is a concept I never understood, although my beer people have told me there's a reason because it's a period and all that.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
I do know that the Military Bowl is coming back, and you're going to have the Clydesdales back over here again. That's December 28th, I believe, this year.
That sounds about right. That's my favorite event personally. I love seeing the Clydesdales come around the street. I think it's so cool.
They're great. Have you thought about? I mean, you've talked about physical expansion. Have you thought about expanding to other areas, or are you just happy with this one?
We're going to see how it goes. That wasn't my long-term plans. Is at first I wanted to take over everything here, and which we now succeeded at that. And I figured I'd probably make up my mind within about 1.5 to 2 years of the expansion being done. We own other properties throughout town, and so I've thought about expanding into them. And I'm not sure if I would actually do another Evelyn's. I might do a lunch and dinner spot that was more upscale. My son Michael, he got the short end of the stick. So
I already got a Michael's over there on South River.
Well, what I thought of is we have a building that's right across from the Lighthouse Bistro, and it's called Delivery. And a lot of people don't know this, but it's one of the only 2 buildings in Annapolis with very tall ceilings that's historic because Annapolis was a shipping town. They didn't make anything here. So the building's called Delivery because people would bring their horse and carriage into town. The first story was all for the horses and had a gigantic elevator that would bring your carts up to the second and third story. They'd put your cart in a little stall, put a padlock on it, and you went down to Ego Alley to sell your goods. And then you'd come back up there. So if I did something there, I think I'd call it Michael's Stable or something like that, you know.
I got a couple stories. After we're done here, I'll tell you about the Delivery building. It was funny. One was with the Annapolis Fringe Festival that sort of came and went. And I think that was the one where the furniture store was in there at one point.
Yep. It was Main Cottage.
Yep. And they changed names. They turned to Main Cottage. They were trying to like 2 names.
I don't remember the other one. And then they wanted to do a bigger store up in
they were out
in
west.
Arnold. And they wanted to move. And then the other one up there went under. Now they're doing only online ordering.
And they've got like a warehouse or something out by like Annapolis Junction or something. I think so. It's neat. Well, I'll tell you what. The last thing I got for you is that we are friends on Facebook. And now, before we started recording, you did say that at one point you attended Key School.
Yes.
Okay. And on Facebook, your first name is Brandum with an M. Okay.
This is a great story.
Now, were your parents like little hippies?
Oh, no. So, yes, my name is Brandon with an N, but on Facebook, it's with an M. So I never had Facebook my entire life. I just didn't want to get involved with it. I said, I don't need social media. So when you create a business, you have to have a personal page to be able to create a business page.
I don't think you do anymore, but you did.
Okay. Yeah. So, which back then it infuriated me. I was like, well, who's the person for Walmart or for Target who's doing this? But Anyway, so I tried to make a page or make a personal page. Type in Brandon Stalker. It says, you have a restricted last name because of Stalker. You cannot use this. And I said, well, this is my name. I want to go. You have to send in your birth certificate and your driver's license into us for you to prove that this is real. I go ahead and I do it. It took about 3 weeks. I get it back, and they put it up as Brandon Stalker with an M. I try to adjust my first name. It says, you cannot adjust this because you have a restricted name. You have to send in all of your information to Facebook to be able to get this adjusted. And I said, heck with it. I don't care. So now there's all sorts of people who always, give me kind of the side eye with they're like, are you into something weird with Dom or whatever? And I'm like, no. It's just,
So your name is a result of a typo on Facebook.
That's right. That's right.
I've got a friend I went through Leadership Anne Arundel, and her name is Amal, and it's Amale.
Okay.
And I know several Amals, and she's from Lebanon. And I said, it's strange that it has that E on the end. She says,
yes, because usually they don't.
Said it was a typo. Apparently, there's a lot of French in Lebanon, and put the E on the end of it, it'd be feminine. And the person in the birth certificate office assumed that, it's a female, so we'll just put the E on the end of it. And now, so her birth certificate and everything else, so this is, she's grown into the name.
Well, she got the shorter end of the stick than me. It's official on the birth certificate. True. I just got the Facebook.
True. Well, I'll tell you, everybody needs to get to Evelyn's Annapolis. The website is evelynsannapolis.com, EVELYNS.
That's correct.
And don't come here on Sunday morning if I'm coming here, because I want the table before you.
That's right.
But at 26 Annapolis Street, again, there's never been a problem with parking. So, don't think about it. That's one of the beauties about West Annapolis is there's no garages.
That's right.
No real hassles with parking. We've got that in Eastport. We've got that downtown. Strangely enough, it's not here.
No, we even have a 22-car lot behind the building.
Oh, and bamboo.
Yeah, I say there's not many places that can say that.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you what, Brandon Stalker, no M on the end Thank you so much. And congratulations on 5 years here at Evelyn's. And I'm looking forward to 5, 10, 15, 20 more. And
that's right.
Whatever happens next door in about a month.
That's right. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.